Hi guys, welcome back. Cow Clash Fitness. Now today we're going to be reviewing the Garmin Forerunner 310 XT. Okay. Now this is a device that I've had now for 3 years. Okay, I've been using it heavily for 3 years, and I've used it for running, for cycling, and for triathlon. Okay, so that includes a little bit of open water swimming. We'll touch on that a little bit later. Okay. So what I'm going to do is briefly touch on the features, the pros and cons of the watch, and then I'll talk about each sport individually, so how it performs with running, cycling and open water swimming, and how it actually performs during the triathlon competition as well, to help you guys make a decision whether this is the watch for you or not. Okay, now then, for me, I picked this watch first and foremost because it's one of 2 triathlon watches within the Garmin range. Okay. Another thing though that attracted me to it was the ease of use. Okay, so I looked at all kinds of Garmin Forerunners when I first got this many years ago, right? And as a triathlete, obviously the triathlon features appealed to me, but above all else, okay, it's the ease of use, the size of this thing and the size of the buttons. Okay, so when you're out and about running, it's very easy to reach all of these nice big chunky buttons. All right, so the main ones you're going to need when you're out running are these 2. And you've got multiple side buttons as well. Okay, so very easy to use compared to other Forerunners that have sort of this bezel. When it gets wet, it's difficult to use, and you're sort of trying to slide your finger around this touchscreen bezel thing. Very difficult. Becomes very difficult. The Garmin Forerunner does exactly what it says on the tin. Nice big chunky buttons. For me, when I'm out and about, I just want to mash these buttons and get going. I don't want to be fiddling about while I'm trying to run or cycle, losing concentration, go crashing into a bush or something like that. So I want a device that's easy to use, and first and foremost, this is incredibly easy to use. Okay, now on top of that, essentials: battery life 20 hours. Bish bash bosh, 20 hours of use, can't complain with that, very good. It's never run out on me, it's easy to check what the battery is, perfect, no issues there. Okay, the integration with other devices is pretty huge. So by AMP Plus, so it's got AMP Plus built in, so it's pretty much, you can connect it to heart rate monitor, to cadence sensors, to foot pods in trainers to measure your cadence while you're running, power if you're into that, and if you've got the money for cycling. Many AMP Plus devices just gives you more and more data to analyse after your run or after your cycle. Okay, the AMP Plus doesn't work in water, so you're not going to be able to measure heart rate, for example, when you're swimming. So don't try that. It's not going to electrocute you or anything. It's just not going to work. Okay. You've got your virtual partner functionality, which for me is a little bit of a gimmick, but essentially you can, if you know you're running a route or a certain distance, you can either program in what time you would like to run, and then the virtual partner will run that for you, and you can sort of try and visually see whether you're in front or behind of the little man running or lady, or the little person cycling, whatever you decide you wanted to do. Or you can load a course in your previous times, or it can recognise previous activity on the watch, and you can race against yourself. So it's sort of like a ghost mode that you can run against or you can cycle against. So it is pretty cool, but it's a little bit of a gimmick, and to be honest, I don't use that, but I think a lot of people enjoy doing it, so it's a matter of opinion there. Alerts, very good as well. So I have this beeping every mile, just so I can look down and see how my average pace is doing, what my time was for that mile, and it saves me from sort of checking my watch all the time, ruining my technique. Again, the time alerts are good. If I'm doing an interval training and running, for example, I can have this go off every 8 minutes with a 2-minute rest, or just every 8 minutes periodically. So I can have maybe an 8 minutes tempo, 2 minutes rest, 8 minutes tempo, 2 minutes rest. And the watch is constantly beeping at me and timing me, so I don't need to concentrate on starting and stopping stopwatches and things like that. I just run to the speed of when the watch beeps at me, I'll speed up. When it beeps again, I'll slow down, and you can adjust those on the watch. So it's very good. So it's packed full of features. More basic than that. Okay, I'm obviously not going to find signal because I'm in the shed. To go back to the interface here, as I said before, it's nice and chunky. It's got a nice backlight, as you can see. Now you can have up to 4 displays any one time, right? And as you can see, I like to have pace, average pace, distance and time. Okay, so these are the things that I like to see in real time, and because the screen is nice and chunky, I can clearly see all 4 of those metrics all the time. Okay, so when my watch beeps at me, tells me I've run 1 mile, I have a look down, I can see what my average pace is for the whole run, I can see my current pace, what distance I've done. So obviously it beeps every mile, but if you've been doing a lot of miles, sometimes you can forget how many you've done, and overall time. Okay, you can have multiple of these screens. So here I've got my heart rate and total elapsed time. Okay, and back to normal. But other things that you can have here are your virtual partner, as I mentioned. Many options. More options than you are ever going to need. Okay, for me, I barely ever come off of this home screen. It pretty much tells me everything that I need to know. Okay, and this, even though I'm in the shed, miraculously it seems to have found signal. Okay, so that brings me on to one of the more negative points of the watch. I think it's the same with pretty much any watch. I live very close to an airport, and quite often I'm trying to find signal in a more built up area, and it can take a while to find signal. Okay, and if I know if I'm out on a run, I don't have a great deal of time, I'll opt for the Strava Android app on my phone rather than reach for this and wait quite a long time for it to find signal. Also, if I'm not at home, if I'm not running from home, can't leave this in the garden to find signal, I don't really want to be standing around in the cold shivering while this finds signal. Okay, it's not a big deal, but it is something to be aware of. If we come back to open water swimming, this is one of the drawbacks of the watch. Okay, now you have the 910 XT, which is far more expensive than this one, which accurately tracks your open water swimming via GPS. Okay, this is advertised by Garmin as a waterproof swimming, waterproof watch, water resistant when swimming. Okay, it does not accurately measure your GPS when you're in open water. Okay, every time it goes anywhere near pretty much a body of water, it loses signal. So it's not good for open water swimming. Okay, so don't buy this with the expectation that I did, that I'll put it on as you do with the 910 XT, you'll get in and it will track accurately your open water swim. It's sort of zigzaggy mess all the way around. Obviously it does track how long it's taken you, so if you know how far you're swimming in an event, for example, then at least it will tell you time. But otherwise, I would say no good for that. Similarly for swimming, it doesn't measure your indoor lengths, or it doesn't have any indoor swimming functionality at all, whereas the 910 XT does. Again, that's probably the one feature that the 910 XT has over this one that I would actually want. Okay, but I don't think it's worth the extra money. Okay, between this and 910 XT. If I was really that bothered, I could buy a relatively cheap watch that individually tracks my lengths and things like that. So, not a big deal. And one final drawback in terms of just overall features. No gyrometer, so it doesn't measure elevation by gyrometer, it uses GPS data. Again, in real time when you're out and about, it might not be 100% accurate, but once you've uploaded it onto Strava or Garmin Connect or whatever you're using, it will even itself out anyway, so again, not a huge drawback. Very quickly talk on the individual sports, so running, cycling, touched on swimming, it's not brilliant for that, and triathlon. Okay, so for running is pretty much predominantly what I use it for, because now I have a cycling computer, a Garmin Edge 810. Okay, so for running, really love running with this. It's comfortable despite its size. I'm quite a big guy anyway, but I've never had a problem with comfort. Run marathons in this, love it. Okay, it's easy to glance down, it's always beeping at me. It has a plethora of features which I'm not going to go through in detail now because I don't have the time. However, if anyone wants me to go through any features in detail, I can make a video on that, so leave your comment down below. But it's a fantastic watch. I can glance down and see how fast I'm running, see if I'm running too fast, not fast enough, how long I've been running, how far. upload all of your details to Strava or Garmin Connect, as I mentioned. Analyze the hell out of it, okay? Especially with all the gadgets that you can connect to it. Running, absolutely fantastic. Cycling, again, you can buy a little cycling mount so you can attach it to your stem, and you can see all of this, you know, similar to with the running stats. You can see your speed, your average speed, elevation, all the rest of it in real time. Just a quick glance down below. Now the screen is suitable for running. With cycling, it's a bit smaller, so which is why I upgraded to the Edge 800. It's perfectly functional for cycling. Okay, it's much better than most cycling computers out there, to be honest with you, especially if you have the attachment. So cycling, brilliant again, and it's great value for money. If you're going to use this for running and cycling, brilliant value for money. Highly recommend it. And finally, triathlon. Although it's a triathlon watch, I personally wouldn't recommend using this or the 910 XT or any watch during a triathlon competition, at least in terms of, actually that's not entirely true. I wouldn't use it in terms of wanting to analyse it, so I wouldn't use the triathlon specific features. I would use it to measure my speed, my average speed on the bike. Same with running, just to make sure that I'm not running too hard, or make sure that I'm running fast enough, and make sure I'm cycling fast enough, not make sure that I'm not going too hard. But I wouldn't be bothered about trying to track the triathlon itself. I've tried it before, and there's too much fiddling about. Okay, so you can have it set up so you press a button and it ends the swim, starts the transition. You press another button, it ends the transition, starts the cycle. Blah 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 blah. Okay, but in triathlon competition before, it's gone wrong. I've been fiddling about with it, and it's become quite annoying. So I very simply just start a new one for the cycle, start a new one for the run, and just make sure that I'm not overworking or underworking during the competition. Okay, I don't use any of the features. I can live without tracking my triathlon competitions on GPS. Okay, the times are going to be chip timed, so I don't need to clock into Strava segments or any of that nonsense when I'm on a triathlon competition. So as long as it's telling me how fast I'm going, how hard I'm working, I'm happy, and it does that perfectly well. So to summarise, it has got more features than you're ever going to want, okay, but it has got brilliant features that are really going to help with your running, with your cycling, okay. They'll help you run faster, they'll help you run further. Brilliant features. They've got a few minor drawbacks, but I don't personally think they should stop you from buying this watch. I think this watch is fantastic. Highly recommended. Brilliant piece of kit. GPS when running and cycling is a brilliant tool to use. If you're not currently owning a GPS watch or computer or something, highly recommend going out and buying this. You will not be disappointed. If anyone has any questions, again, please let me know down below. This has been quite a lengthy review, but I've only scratched the surface on this brilliant device, okay? So anyone that wants any more information, please ask. Please leave me a like if you've enjoyed the video. Leave me a comment, suggestion, anything that you want to see in the future. Please subscribe. Let's keep it rolling.